Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 670 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. James Parker. If you want to hear the story about Parker College of Chiropractic and his early memories of his father, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Jim Parker on with me. It's going to be a really awesome episode. We're going to talk all things Parker, Parker seminars, Parker College, memories of early day Parker, life in Texas, and then we'll get into some of the reasons behind where we are today with chiropractic and what his dad helped to do fundamentally to get chiropractic more widespread and open to college up down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. First of all, I want to let you guys know why we do what we do. And if you love our show as you're watching it, please share the show. That's a really great way to get this content and information out to more people. But if I don't ask people, don't do it. Our big why do we do it? Well, freedom of speech is so important to us. That's why we do the show, so we can get the message of chiropractic to more people. We know what it's like to be shadow banned, traffic throttled, and censored, and we would never do that to you. So we've never censored anyone, and we let people tell their truth. Secondly, we believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. It's really strange I have to mention these things in America, but if you want to learn more about taking care of you and your family, go find a chiropractor in your city, state, neighborhood, and let them help you with the guidance on these topics. And then we get a bit more philosophical. We do protect B.J. Palmer's Sacred Trust. It's his last written words. So if you want to learn more about B.J. Palmer and Sacred Trust, go to our show, check out the show notes, click on the link, and learn about the Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you did previously, I guarantee you. And then we do believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when old D.D. Palmer stuff, when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, and then we get educated intelligence. And with that, Dr. Jim Parker, your episode 670 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the fundamentals of chiropractic are real, and I'm sure I didn't get a whole lot of chance to ask you about who influenced your dad, but I am curious about your chiropractic story most to open up the interview with. And maybe you could tell me a little bit about your early memories of chiropractic and where you are today with the profession.
Oh, well, so my, as far as my personal journey to chiropractic is pretty unremarkable. I've always been a bit of the black sheep in the family. So everyone who was a descendant of Dr. Jim, who was, well, not everyone, but most of us went the chiropractic path, but I was going to go a different route. I actually didn't know. I didn't have a major cemented in until my junior year in college. I was kind of nomadic in that regard. But it was experiencing what some people choose to call a chiropractic miracle. I don't. I call it an expected outcome of myself. I've been treated my entire life, but there are some different ways to as my dad used to say, free the innate. And I was cured of some ailments that I've had for much of my childhood. And I chose rationally to pursue this as my profession, so I could bring that healing to people myself.
Well, I think that's an exceptional opener, positioning who you are and, getting out there to say, hey, look, even though I didn't know that this was my calling, I realized that this was the right thing for me to do. And I think chiropractic is a lot like that. Some people have that like miracle injury story that they're like, oh, I hurt myself and got adjusted by a chiropractor and then became a chiropractor. Or, they were sick as kids and had asthma or something. Like, oh gosh, I got the chiropractor and, it changed my life. And I was like, I'm going to do that too. But you grew up in the Parker household. How was that different for you? Because, your dad was very ambitious, was on the path of teaching other people practice success. And obviously probably one of the first seminars out there, right?
I'm not aware of any seminars prior to the seminars that my father found. There were groups of people getting together, and this is from me talking to people years ago, or talking to people whose fathers are great grandparents, and I asked them, so what was there before Parker? And the answer was not a whole much of anything. Growing up in the Parker house, you talked about chiropractic a whole lot around Dad. He had no off switch. He lived and he breathed it. He worked 7 days a week. He would take a half day off on Christmas Day to watch us open presents and to have a feast. But apart from that, it was all chiropractic all the time. And in fact, my dad would make some investments outside of the profession, try to maybe start a little business which he wouldn't pay attention to. And all of his businesses, or rather not all of his investments, and the occasional venture outside the profession, they all failed. None of them worked out. If he did it in chiropractic, it was usually a success. If he did it outside of chiropractic, that it was unsuccessful because his mind and his heart wasn't there.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for people, because everybody's looking after how can they take what they've got and get to the next thing. And I do think that when people stay true to their baseline of growth and what got them to where they are, it just works, And if you keep close to your principles and why you do what you do, I think that's a really cool perspective there, because I've done things that weren't like in alignment with what I wanted to do, and they never worked. So it's really good for people that are going to be listening to this and watching this, that like, look, keep your ideas as close to your passions as you can. And that's really what I call my North Star project. Everything I do goes towards one direction. And if it feeds into that direction, then I say, yes, this is a good idea. And I think that's something cool that you've shared with us about your dad. Now let's talk about the growing up at the Parker seminars. What was it like to be a young kid around all those like mega speakers and learning about chiropractic business?
So by the time I came into age, the Parker seminars were in full swing. My father started a second family later in life. When he was close to 50 when I was born. I think he was 49. And so by that time, his career started when he was in his early 30s. I believe 30. He was age 31 when the seminars first began. So I wasn't there to see the run up. I was just there to see kind of the pinnacle all the way until his own passing. But I'll be happy to offer those early years as I was around everybody who was there at the time. So my dad had his own positive chiropractic experience, and that's what drew him into chiropractic. He mainly made his living through sales, cars, encyclopedias, by door to door, and he was good at it. But that wasn't his passion, and so he enrolled at the Palmer College, and he studied directly under B.J. Palmer, who I was happy to see you refer to him earlier in the podcast. And it was during World War II. He was medically unfit to serve our country during the Second World War. He tried several times to enroll, but his vision was like 2200. He was asthmatic, and they refused to accept him, which can be heartbreaking for a small town Texas boy. And that's where military service is really kind of baked into your DNA, and it's a part of being a man, quite frankly. So, but chiropractic he got better towards the tail end of the war, and so I class sizes were probably still small, and so he had that direct mentorship with BJ himself, and he bought or opened 2 to 3 chiropractic clinics while as a student, and he perfected his technique on delivering the chiropractic message, or some element of salesmanship, if you will. And he came down to Fort Worth, close to where he grew up, and he opened up his first practice there. He quickly grew it to where he was personally seeing 300 patients a day, and then over the next year and a half, he opened up 18 different chiropractic clinics in 18 different towns and cities, including his hometown, mainly because there was not a chiropractor, and he wanted his mom to be seen by a chiropractor. So he put a clinic there so his mom could receive care. And this, while his classmates were struggling, taking on second jobs, leaving the profession altogether. I should say former classmates and the profession at large. It was not a viable way to make a living, except for a handful of people who figured out the secret sauce. So he received the phone calls, how do I make it in this profession? And he was encouraged by a group to fly down to Florida and to hold a class, if you will, over several days, and to teach them. And they paid his way, paid him some money, and he did that. He mimeographed, which is photocopy or printed out, mimeographed all of his material, brought it down there, and put him in 7 different bags, little brown briefcases, and which became a hallmark of the seminar in years to follow, a big tradition. And he said, all right, open up your brown bags, take out your stuff. Here's what we do. And he walked them A through Z on managing the practice. Here's what you do on the first day. Here's what you do on the second day of the report of findings. Here's how you articulate a plan of care. Here's how you keep them engaged in chiropractic. And after corrective care is done, here's how you interest your patient on wellness care and chiropractic, not just as a quick fix for your low back or neck pain, but as a lifestyle to improve your health, so that you're less reliant upon medicine or physician intervention in order to mask whatever symptoms that may ail you. He taught them how to do that. They took these principles and applied them. They enjoyed success. His phone rang again and says, well, now there's 21 of us. We want a second seminar, including 6 out of 7 of the first people. So they wanted to come back to catch the stuff that they missed. And so that was the birth of the Parker School for Professional Success, which was a roving or non-brick and mortar educational institution of higher education for the doctor of chiropractic. Now, after some time, he rose his most accomplished lieutenants, his best students, if you will, and he said, okay, now I want you to teach this stuff while I teach that stuff. And so we had different tracks of learning. And the first team teachers, as they were called, included John Thie, Ed Rollins, and Sid Williams. Sid Williams, of course, is a prominent name in chiropractic. He went on to form his own seminar series, Dynamic Essentials, and he leveraged that to build Life College, and made an amazing career for himself. Many of these students would go on to become practice managers of themselves. They said, you know what, I've learned it. I like to do a little twist, and I found a way to better monetize it. And they went off, and they included Charlie Ward, Charlie Peel, David Singer, Bernie Katz, all of the greats from the 1980s. Some of whom are still doing it today. Charlie Peel, I believe, is still doing it. He's probably approaching 90 years old. In fact, I think he may have just turned 90, as a matter of fact. Charlie Ward, we recently lost, and they in turn taught others who have gone on to offer their own seminars. And so I think we're on the 3rd generation of Parker style practice management teachers. His seminars were attended by 15,000 individuals per year, which is chiropractors and their staff, whoever wanted to bring them. Nobody before, current, at the time, or since has educated 15,000 people every year connected to the chiropractic profession. That's a record that not only stands, but no one to the best of my understanding even comes close to that. Close to that is the Parker seminars of today, which is completely rebranded. They follow a different mission. It's a terrific continuing education university event. It's a good CEU event. But they have their own mission, which is not Dr. Jim's vision. And so when to people who still attend, and I've gone to a lot of them, I like to draw the distinction between the seminars that my father built and the seminars that are in operation today, which is designed to support the university as they're now a division of the university. And but its role as a practice building enterprise, if you will, has been deferred to that. The one area that my father does not take credit for, he had nothing to do with, are integrated style practices where you have a MD, a PT, or a DC, or some permeation there, where your clinic is a blend of medical and non-medical healing, if you will. He was not involved in that part of chiropractic. So that's it in a nutshell. If I continue, so we didn't have educational materials, handouts, and at the time, this is before technology, and everything was pen and paper, and so he printed and would sell the office forms in packs of 100. All the pamphlets that you see hanging on the wall. Sometimes you may run into a pamphlet back from the 60s, 70s, or 80s. If you look at the back on the bottom, they'll all say copyright Parker Chiropractic Research Foundation. That's him. The company he had at the time was called Share International and included a little factory which I worked in. One product that I made as a child labor, that was me, but I loved it. I did it for some chump change so I could buy a little thing. But it was those things you press these little dots on the spine, and it has these little electrical wires that go to the organs, and you press a dot, and your lungs may flash. Okay, and so you hit that, your lungs flash. You hit that, your heart flashes. And so that's the chiropractor's way of telling you, you can have a subluxation here, and it can impact your lungs. You see, it was an educational tool. Well, I used to wire those things. And so if you see one, there's a chance that I personally built it.
That's fun. Like the neuropathulator.
Yeah.
Those things are really popular even today. The ones that are big and boxy and mount on the wall. You can hit the little button and it shows it. Yep.
And so it wasn't. So Dr. Jim today is known by the current generation of chiropractors. If you ask him, so what did Dr. Parker do? Well, he built a college, one of 18 programs that we have nationwide. I think it's 17 now, sadly. Well, not really. I mean, he did that, but the college was really just a capstone to his career. It opened when he was 62 years of age. I talk to anybody who's 62 and said, what are your plans for the future? Like Social Security, retirement. Well, he opened a college. And he ran them until he was no longer able to. He had an issue right towards the end, but he stopped working. I remember he was in the hospital recovering from a cardiac procedure, and when he found his strength, his words were, "Bring me my briefcase, get back to work." But so through the seminars, he taught chiropractors how to be successful, and he taught them to explain chiropractic. And through his army of empowered chiropractors, chiropractic became relevant, and it became licensed in all 50 states because of political activity, which he highly encouraged. We had the ACA and we had the ICA, and they were at war with each other. My father did something remarkable, and he brought both of them to one of the seminars, and he had them seated at the same table, and each of them spent about half an hour talking about what they did. But it was a unity seminar. so we can all move forward together in a single voice. That was his attempt to try to get all of us talking, singing from the same hymnal, if you will, when speaking to our legislators, so that we can get licensed, and so we can, if you want to do insurance, you have insurance equity laws, and it opens up that reimbursement for chiropractors who would like to file on that. But prior to Dr. Jim's founding of the PSPS, Parker School for Professional Success, chiropractors were in the same bucket, if you will, of naturopaths and herbal healers and others, which were unlicensed, therefore outlawed. You can't practice medicine without a license, and medical doctor was the only license around. The osteopaths were out there, and the medical lobby, the AMA, was knocking them dead one by one. Well, the DOs said, okay, we'll join you. And they said, okay. And so the medical doctors absorbed the osteopaths, and osteopaths are now considered physicians. They can go into the hospitals, they can get boarded. But my understanding is that adjustment, which is we have the same roots, DOs and chiropractors, but DOs have really gone the medical route, and today they're serving as doctors, mostly as fill-in doctors, and I see them a lot in these I call them sniffle shops, but these little urgent care places that's open Sunday at 6 o'clock at night, and you want to go in for an antibiotic or whatever, or a shot, and half the time your DO is or more often than not is a person that sees you. Chiropractic could have gone that way, but because we had the strength of conviction and our belief system was in place, we chose to stay our own course, and where all other professions, non-medical professions, failed, we became successful. Okay, we became successful, and it's because of the effort of Dr. Jim, carrying the message of B.J. Palmer, who learned that from his dad.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Listening to you recall a lot of these memories of how the profession is where we are today. I admire everything you're sharing, because me being a non-chiropractor coming into this world 16 years ago, I started to learn that I was getting people better with the chiropractic method with the office I worked at, but still most people didn't understand what my job was or what we did at that office. So I think even years past your father's passing and the foundation of the business method, there's still things that we would do at our office. We had the David Singer manuals, and I know that David Singer learned from your dad. So I know that as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. And I'm sure your dad took a lot of those principles from selling the encyclopedias and going door to door to people, learning how to do sales. I kind of want to shift to that a little bit too, is how do you feel the selling in chiropractic has helped the profession, and how do you feel your dad helped chiropractors learn how to sell chiropractic better?
Well, he had he was simply able to explain it in a way that can be understood by somebody without the chiropractic education. It was just the language that he chose. Bone gets out of a place. It's old school. Well, I mean, obviously this is old school. Bone gets out of place. It pinches on a nerve. The nerve's connected to your lung. Your lungs you can have wheezing type symptoms, which is actually true for me as a child. I had asthma, and I would have subluxation, and if I would get adjusted, and my symptoms would abate to some degree. Now, sometimes I'd have to reach for my inhaler. Sometimes chiropractic would be effective. And so it's that simple way of it. It actually, it drives the academics nuts. And people who are, like the neural diplomates, it doesn't work quite that way. Oh, we get that. But teaching it to a layperson public, to use that simple language, it makes it digestible. And so you understand how it is. And he also communicated that the messages or the adjustments built upon each other. And so through a series of adjustments, there is gradual improvement of the body. And then after corrective care is over, we need supportive care or maintenance care to address the little things that come up along the way so that they don't set you backwards and you require more intensive care, to catch back up. The spine is very dynamic. We're always subluxating ourselves, if you like to use that phrase. And so an occasional visit to keep you tuned up, if you will. I like to draw the parallel. We all go to the dentist. We should go to the dentist twice a year, not when we have a toothache. And that's just for our dental health. Same thing with spinal health.
So I think that's all so fundamental for, people to hear, because the profession, obviously there was a huge rift back at the Wilkes case where the AMA tried to come in and discredit and eliminate the profession and to basically cause a smear campaign it still exists today. Like, we're still dealing with the aftermath of that campaign where people still don't know if they can, quite frankly, trust chiropractic. And all I've ever known growing up in Davenport, Iowa, was that this was like the pinnacle of like how to take care of people. But, people had a very strange understanding of, how do I pay for this? This is an insurance thing? Do I pay cash for this? And as I've gotten to know more and more about this profession, there's some people that just like do a box on the wall, and they just put a little thing on the wall inside their practice, and people come in and get their adjustments and pay what they could. That's why whole families would come. And that's why kids would get adjusted from like an early age on. So I think there's a lot for people to uncover about the business modeling of chiropractic. But I do want to, I know we don't have a whole lot of time left on today's chat, but I do kind of want to transition now into where you see chiropractic going in the next decade, based on some of these things that you foreshadowed, saying my dad didn't really ever want to include the MD inside of the chiropractic wellness facility type situation. And I honestly believe that if people ask me, I'll say, look, the profession's going to go wherever chiropractors will take it. But I'm curious as to your take on it, based on how you grew up and the fundamentals that you were taught, what you see happening today and where you think the profession's headed.
Well, I frankly, I believe we're at a bit of a crossroads. So door number one is that we continue the path that chiropractic was under for the first 80, 90, 100 years. And we embrace our technique or an expanded version of it. And we allow ourselves to, or we take the position that anything that frees the innate, if you will, anything that causes natural healing of the body is chiropractic or should be chiropractic, and is something that we should incorporate into our profession and offer to humanity. That's door number one. Door number two, since at our own crossroads, we chose not to become medical doctors. We didn't follow the DO path, and we're not going to now. I think we're too far down the natural healing road, and in my view, which is a good thing. But the workaround is integrated practices where you have a medical team and you have a chiropractic, and each one doing their part. The reimbursement is better. You can make a lot of money doing it, but it's in my view, it's not why I went to school. Okay. But that is the other alternative. We could be more like MDs. Where do I think we'll land? I think that if I were a betting man, I would say that a good portion of our profession will trend towards the medical side, trend towards integration. There is a bit of a I don't even call it a middle road, but chiropractic neurology is also a field which is rooted in understood science, which not all healing is, and it's non-medical. You may have some medical participation, but the work itself is not necessarily medical. They're not performing any surgery. They're not giving any drugs, but they're using the body. They're allowing the body to be healed through its own means. Through various exercises, therapy, adjustment. The Parker School, or the Parker College, or Parker University, I should say, to their credit, they opened what they call the Parker Performance Institute, and this is the one innovation in the post-gym era that I think my father would really be pleased to see. And we opened up our second such institute at the Star, which serves the Dallas Cowboys. So I would encourage the profession to explore that and other areas of chiropractic where we can bring next level natural style healing to people. We can cooperate with our friends in the medical profession, but we don't yield and offer strictly medical care, medicine, surgery, but we handle our own side of it. So that's what I would like to see, that and everything towards the traditional side.
Yeah, this has been a debate for the years, as straight versus mixers. And do we talk about nutrition at the office? Do we sell pillows? Do we sell the creams? Do we sell, every other thing like orthotics and, posture pumps? Like, what are we going to do to support the patient care flow too? So it's always been kind of like a gray area as to how can we help the person in front of us recover with chiropractic. And each person's different. So that's the thing to also take into consideration is chiropractic, like Sid Williams would say, it's like gravity. It works whether you believe in it or not. And I am very proud of the profession for standing its line and saying, look, if you want to become that, go to MD school, go become a physical therapist, but don't take chiropractic and adopt it to what you guys want it to be because you want to fit into the model that is popular in your opinion. And I think that's the most important thing is chiropractic should hold the line. It should stay non-drug, non-surgical, and stay within its tenets of history of the philosophy, the science of art of chiropractic. And I believe there isn't anything that can ever equate to the power of a chiropractic adjustment and to the consistency of how people's lifestyle improves with chiropractic adjustments. And if other professions could do it, they would. And that's why they want to change chiropractic from the inside out rather than just letting chiropractic stay as powerful as it is as an entity within the healing art of chiropractic. So as I've come to understand the profession so much, I think that we will get to a trend where people want to integrate, where we see it at today, but there's never going to be anything, even in those models, that will replace the chiropractic adjustment. So fundamentally, the adjustment is the one thing that you can actually patent, I think, when it comes to chiropractors as the one thing that no other profession can do. And it's distinct, it's unique, it's trained, it's accredited, It's something that chiropractors spend 7 years to learn how to do. And I was at this event just recently, Dr. Jim, and I was talking to this guy, and he's like, you know what, man? Why do I go to one chiropractor and they do this thing, and then I go to another chiropractor and they do it another way? I go, well, the thing is that chiropractors go to school for 7 years to learn how to do the art of adjustment. And sometimes they adjust based on the skill set of their body and how they can actually perform the adjustment. And that's their art. So I said, anytime a chiropractor is going to adjust you, it's going to be based on their understanding of the analysis, your physiology, the detection, the correction, and the adjustment of the vertebral subluxation. And I said, there's so much to be said about that one statement, but a chiropractor is going to adjust you based on their body type, their technique style, and what they see on your exam and x-ray. And he's like, bro, I've never had anybody explain it to me like that before. And I go, yeah, man, the part that no one will ever tell you is chiropractors are artists. And I think that that's the part where we really have to start anchoring down is there's all this confusion in the medical world. Well, there's nothing that's an art out of chiropractic that's going to heal people. Everything else is contrived medical monopoly. And it's all based on the pharmacological approach. And there's no artistic approach in that. That's all science and method. So if we look back to chiropractic as being the last healing art on planet Earth, then that's where I see this profession going. If we can own that adjustment long term, then Dr. Jim, we have ourselves something to sustain ourselves for long term as a profession.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's a very good point about chiropractic. It is an art, and no two painters, they have art schools. They may have hundreds and hundreds of students, but no two students are going to paint a picture exactly the same way, and no two chiropractors are going to deliver exactly the same adjustment. I've had I've lost count of the number of patients who, now 90% of the people I can take care of just fine, but 10% they're just not going to respond to my touch for whatever reason. So I refer them to somebody else. So go see my friend down the road. He's an excellent chiropractor, and I explain the difference there. I meet people out in the public say, well, I went to a chiropractor, it didn't seem to work. So I will go try another chiropractor. Now, if you go to 2 or 3 and you don't get the results that you need, maybe. One of the other things that my father did, since we're talking about art, after the seminars in the late 1960s, as my father continued his journey, you mentioned straight versus mixer. Well, he was a mixer, and he was beyond that. Actually, he started off toggle, hole in one, Atlas axis, and then he figured, well, there's some merit to full spine. And so just through being with so many different chiropractors, he saw benefits from these really non-chiropractic healing forms, which were also non-medical. Applied kinesiology, clinical kinesiology, best technique from Dr. Mortar, who served as the college president, networking, TBM, Victor Frank's work. Now, some of it was some of it. So what my dad would do is he would have his trusted lieutenants. He would say, go forth and find me ways to bring healing to the public. And he would vet these techniques or have them vetted. Some of them were a bit too fringe, unsubstantiated, and he didn't believe that it should be, it was not ready to be shared with the profession. Or perhaps the technique was rooted in science that was known to be flawed. Now, some other practitioners, they may have an incomplete understanding of the science, but understanding of the science was not essential. You could still get results, even though you really didn't know how you got them. And so if that was the case, he allowed that to be taught at the Parker seminars. And in fact, he would have a full day devoted. He had 18 different tracks of learning. So he would have a full day of a certain track devoted towards a technique that is taught in no college. Best technique was a fixture at the Parker seminars. There were also techniques within chiropractic that was more faithful to the adjustment, and that included Gonstead, Thompson, Activator, which are now taught in many of the schools. In fact, Arlen Furr, if you ask him, he's still with us. If you ask him, how did Activator become so prominent within chiropractic, he'll tell you it's because of the Parker seminars. He invented it, but the Parker seminars made it relevant. And so for that reason, some of the more some of the techniques that are in close alignment with chiropractic, Gonstead, Thompson, Activator, I think a lot of them are taught in the colleges. Those that are on the fringe, it's available to chiropractors, but not in a chiropractic school setting. But it's still out there. And if my father was still with us today, I think he would really encourage us to explore these other techniques. Anything that we could do to free the innate, as he used to say. They were around earlier, but they were stomped out by the medical profession. But we stand alone as the only non-medical physician level healers, and so we are positioned to bring in all the other natural holistic modalities and offer them to the public, and offer them is something that we should in fact do.
Well, Dr. Jim, I love today's conversation with you on the Chiro Hustle Podcast, your episode 670. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience before we call it a day?
Well, I haven't even talked about the college at all, but just in a summary, the mission for the college was to bring students from around the world, teach them chiropractic, have them return to their home countries, and seed chiropractic. And when there's enough interest and enough participation, open chiropractic colleges around the world to spread the chiropractic message internationally. And around the time of his passing, he was working on opening up such schools in Mexico, Korea, I believe Israel, Portugal, and Japan. In fact, I met with the Japanese delegation. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. If we wanted to continue that mission, we still have the bones, the infrastructure. These institutions my father created, he created them not to make money or to have a life, but he created them to serve a broader vision. He says, I need to do this, but I need that. And I need 100 employees to do it. That's why we have the seminar, Share International, or Share Manufacturing, Parker College, but to fulfill the mission of chiropractic, which is to bring natural, holistic healthcare to humanity, people around the world, 8 billion patients.
I really love that closing statement there. Let's bring chiropractic to the world. I always, close out by telling people you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll do that at the end of today's episode. But if people wanted to work with you or learn from you or connect with you, where could we send them to as a web resource or as some way to get in touch with you?
Facebook, James W. Parker, DC. Facebook. I friend all chiropractors. If I know you're a chiropractor, then you're my brother, you are my sister, and I'll be happy to friend you on Facebook.
Well, great. So connect with Dr. Jim Parker over on Facebook, and I just really appreciate you spending some time with us and our audience today.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing the message. Thank you for having me on here. You have a great program.
Well, I really appreciate it, and it's been a great learning experience for me today to have you on to our episode. And I will close out then by telling everybody, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now. See you, Doc.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.